My name is Brakhage. I'm a filmmaker. I'm particularly concerned with making an art of the film, or with what might possibly be an art of the film. And at the moment, Steve Gebhardt and Bob Fries are making a kind of interview program with me without an interviewer. And we're in Bob's living room, and I'm trying to think of something to say about art that will fit into a brief statement on film. And really what's distracting me more than anything else, happily, is the environment around me, which would be that which I call a distraction would be the only possibility out of which I might begin, if I had a camera here now, to be making something that I might think could be a work of art, or at least would feel engaged at that level of activity. Because I practically have, after years of struggling with the definition of that word, no real definition other than a feeling sense that begins in me when I start making, start photographing. And what would begin me photographing in this living room now would be one, anything in it that was jarring or contradictory or disturbed me. And that wouldn't really start me these days, as well as something in it that really I liked and wanted to sit in, like that chair, or that wine that I might want to go and drink, or the stained glass quality of the windows, and then my mind would begin moving among the oddities of this room, oddities in the sense of things that I'd never thought of before as being in juxtaposition to each other. Okay, I'm going to try to talk just exactly straight into the camera, with nobody conversationally answering me or asking questions or anything like that. That camera's harder to look at than somebody else's eyes. I've never done this before, actually, just plain look straight into the camera and try to say something. I've even recommended to people that they might do that to find out something about themselves, and I've never done it for myself. And actually, I want to look around at anything else, at Steve sitting over there recording this, or Bob, his eye going like this as the other one's glued up to the camera. I want to put on some kind of an act. I'd almost rather do a song and dance, which I'd be no good at. And things are intruding, which is helpful, like that was the radiator that made a big thump, and I feel like I'll save maybe this thing from having classical music or something slapped over it if I refer to the fact that the camera can be heard running, very distantly, fluttering in the distance, and very hard. Not quite like looking in a mirror, because I can't really see myself, but I have that sense that there's something in there that is seeing myself. Despite the fact that I know that really what's happening is light is bouncing off of me from studio type or professional type lighting equipment, bouncing off me and being reflected by my skin surface and suit surface and whatever's around me, down through the tunnel of that lens and changing the chemicals on a strip of celluloid that is passing through that camera. And actually, it's kind of a good discipline, because I'm not, for instance, for once, I'm not really, unless I struggle to think about it, I'm not thinking about talking to any audience that this might be shown to later. Maybe I am. But really, there's a kind of a meditation thing too. I mean, I've said all these things in front of audiences before. Maybe that's the trouble. If I just, sometimes I think if I just shut up, or how well I could. I've, for instance, been telling people that I think really for the art of the film, that sound is an aesthetic error, and that may be so severe a one that even within 20 years, if people have a concept of film as art in 20 years that's worth anything, they might be a general assumption that all the pursuit of, by artists of the medium to put sound on a film was really a blind alley. Whereas right now I could illustrate it beautifully by I said, just going on talking and not making any noise at all. And actually, so there wouldn't be, it wasn't the case that someone came and removed that noise later. I mean, I can make it, sitting here, can move my lips as if I am talking, so that one can see when I'm not actually talking the extent to which I'm dropping masks over my face or something more of the face. I mean, at least it's my theory that if the major consideration of film is really the visual, then that the reason sound is a blind alley is because it cuts back sight, so that at the very instant that suddenly the sound is removed, or that it's relatively silent, my theory is that it becomes more possible to see. And that at the very instant that a word comes in, it immediately becomes more difficult for whomever to see. I suddenly see more when I stop talking, for instance. I also get scared. I sometimes think the real reason that say, aside from the wonder of lip sync, that the movies plaster mood music and everything else all over the soundtrack is so that there's never a moment of silence, is because people are afraid. And with sound pouring into the ears, they feel more comforted, lullabied in some sense. Really, it's a simple matter. I'm kind of coming apart because I know that camera isn't listening, and my eyes keep desperately wanting to go to the sound recording man, and he's busy, and Bob, and he's very busy. Really, he's taking pictures, as it's called, and doesn't have time to listen. And really, practically always, I'm thinking it's me up against that just some being out there that is mysterious, like finally any machine is going to be, however much it's just an extension of human beings, it's going to be utterly mysterious. It doesn't answer, it doesn't wrinkle. All I have to go on in the slightest is that the photographer, Bob, every now and again moves the camera around over the map of whatever I'm becoming on a piece of film in there. And when he does so, I read it as some kind of reaction. And I'm so very aware of what part he is taking a picture of.